This board is one of my very, very first tries at fluid acrylic pouring. And it's just on a scrap piece of plywood. It's not really a very pretty pattern, but I want to try. I like the background. Actually, it's kind of a very beachy background. Had it a while. I've had it a couple of years. And I'm going to use a piece of driftwood. This is going to be the base of my palm tree. This is going to be my palm tree trunk. And then I'm going to use some some glass shards here to make my palm tree leaves. So this is a piece of driftwood I found on the beach I think the last week or so, and it's very, very light. I don't know what kind of wood it is. So this is glass that I've cut with my wet saw that's made for cutting tile and glass, and I like to cut the bottoms off of wine bottles and beer bottles, and then also the tops, because um these are still kind of dirty, honestly. But because I use the tops for other projects and I use the bottoms for other projects, and the tops don't crush very well anyway. These need to be cleaned some more. So, and then I did cut some rings. I thought that I was going to make some Christmas ornaments out of them, but I ended up not doing that. So I actually have some good material already ready made. Um, I don't know how this is going to work. And these are my glass snippers that I use a lot. And I'm just gonna kind of play around a little bit.
I do have an idea in my head how I want it to look and how I want it to work. What I'm doing here is trying to translate the thoughts in my head. I'm trying to figure out how to cut the glass so that I can translate that to the canvas, if that makes sense.
Oh, I like that. I mean, it's not exactly like a palm tree, but it's not supposed to be exactly. It's a piece of abstract art, right? Oh, I like using those. So that's kind of a quarter piece. So it's a ring cut into quarters, and that is the perfect size. That seems like a really perfect size for that. Yeah. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this guy down, and I'm going to use my hot glue gun. So let me go get it plugged in. All right, while I'm waiting on my hot glue gun, I am going to just flesh these out some more. And I wanted to try to use just different color too. So this is a different color green than this, and it's a little bit thicker. So I think it's the same shade, but I want, because the palm tree itself is not really the same shade of green. So I did want to get a little bit of variety in there. And then this one should break right there on that score line. I don't know. And the pieces that are too little for this, I'm going to be using in my other Crush Class Christmas trees. So I'm not really worried. That broke really well there. This one. I want to get another big one. So I think these are just a little bit too small. think I really want to get this one nice and full and long.
It takes a little bit of practice to get the shape just right. You know, the glass wants to curve and the palm fronds do curve, but they don't curve that much. So it did take a little bit of practice just to get the hang of how I wanted to lay the glass down, just to make sure it didn't, you know, poof out too much. And I think by now I got the hang of it.
My hot glue gun ready. It is. So I'm just gonna put the glue all along here. And that'll keep it from slipping. And I like the shape of that. And you know, kind of like my Christmas tree, I am gonna fill in as I go. Like that. You know, it just sort of fluffs out the leaves a little bit. And the branch, you know, the branches of the palm tree. Need some more right there for sure. That one might be a little bit too big.
The bigger pieces seem to work out a little bit better to make the basic shape of the palm frond. So what I'm doing here is just cutting all of the rings into smaller pieces so that I can lay out the structure of the palm frond. But then the smaller pieces I'm using to kind of flesh out the, you know, the little pieces, the little leaves that kind of drip down, the individual palm fronds. But it's really pretty therapeutic, and it would be fun if you had maybe some Christmas music going in the background, and you know, just having fun with it. So it's really fun making one of these. It does take a little bit of time because you have to cut the glass and then you have to lay the glass out, but you don't have to make a great big one. I do need to make some smaller ones, in fact.
So here's a bottle. I've already cut the bottom off. So if you were just working with a, you know, a bottle that has not been crushed or cut into rings, you could actually, you know, absolutely use your nippers just to cut petals like that. These work really, really well, and they may even work a little bit better than the slices, I feel like. And I'm trying to get long ones like that. See, that works. So that works really well. I'm just going to kind of keep adding until I'm happy with the shape. I like big pieces, but not quite that big. So I'm going to try to trim this one a little bit. And see how easy it is to nip? Now, the edges are rough, and if you want to tumble this, by all means. I don't tumble my glass because I just don't want to take the time to do it. But if I can nip the pieces like that and have them be the size that and the shape that I need, I would rather do that. I did not take the label off because I'm lazy. Actually, I didn't think I would be needing this bottle. So I'm just going to cut what I can out of it. And then that didn't really work well. Probably get one more out of that. Here's one that has the label almost off, and this one is probably going to break right in half. I could probably encourage it. There we go. Don't cut yourself when you're working with this glass. I mean, you can hurt yourself, but just be careful and you will be fine.
Once I had enough bigger pieces nipped from the bottle, I just used it to flesh out more main branches with the bigger pieces. So the bigger pieces are used, like I said, for the structure, but then the smaller pieces you use for the little dangly branches that hang down, the little leaves and, you know, little tendrils and stuff. So cute, so much fun. It really is so much fun. I do need to make another one. So this one sold probably within the first hour of my show, and so I need to make a bigger one like this, but then I'm also going to make some little smaller ones like the size of the crushed glass Christmas trees that I make. The board is 16 inches long, and it's really only 5 inches wide, but then I need to make some little shelf sitters too with the palm tree.
My problem is I'm going to tinker too much. That's my problem, is I'm tinkering too much. But this is so much fun. Like, I'm already feel like I'm improving even on this tree just as I go. Because see, look at the difference between this one and this first one. And it kind of, the palm tree, the frond is kind of blooming out that way. So I really like that. Replace this one. Yeah, I really like that. I don't think that one's going to work there. Okay, so I'm going to put all this scrap back in my bucket. Took a lot more glass than what I thought. Okay, I've mixed up 100 milliliters of the Let's Resin casting resin. And I don't know if it's going to be enough, but I can always mix up more, right? And all I'm going to do is drizzle it on where the glass is kind of joined together and just sort of let it do its thing. So I'm going to start on one and then I'm going to go on another. That way I know that I've got them all covered.
I'm focusing the resin on the joints and not necessarily trying to cover the whole piece of glass. Enough of the resin will drip down to adhere the glass to the wood. So this resin it's a medium viscosity. It's not a low viscosity, but it'll stick to the glass enough, and then also enough will drip down. So I'm not really worried about covering the whole piece of glass. It really is a great resin for this type of work because it has a longer working time, so you don't need to worry about the resin in your cup heating up and flash curing, and then you don't have to worry about it curing so fast it gets too thick for you to work with. So I did mix up 100 milliliters, which I was worried about not having enough, but you can see that I have plenty left in my cup to do what I need to do. So I drizzled it all around the board, and then I'm just taking this little Dollar Tree paintbrush just to spread it around a little bit. I wasn't really intending to cover the board itself because I think when I did this, when I painted the board so long ago, I really think I put silicone in the paint. I mean, honestly, I painted this board, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. So there's probably silicone in the paint. The resin is going to fisheye, and I know this. But I also didn't want a bunch of resin drips in between the palm fronds because it just was looking kind of weird. So I like the shiny look of this, and I could have tilted the board to make the resin sort of go its own way, but the paintbrush really worked very effectively. And then it's a Dollar Tree paintbrush, so rather than try to clean it, I just tossed it in the trash.
Okay. I'm going to let this sit and we're going to come back. And then I need to figure out what to do down here. I don't know what I want. So, okay. All right, so next day, I do have a lot of fish eyes, but that's okay. That's okay. I have decided that I do not like the size of this piece of wood, so I'm glad I didn't resin it down. I just need to get it off and use something else. So I'm just going to pull it off and use it for something else. I need now a new piece of driftwood. Okay, a couple of good candidates. Now this one, I really like this one because it's kind of rough. Um, so there's that one. This one is just too plain and it's too short. That's a possibility. This one I think is just a little too skinny. And then this one is perfect, but it's just a little too short. But I really like this one. Maybe for a different tree. One that's just not quite so tall. So I think maybe this one. And even if it's angled up at the top, that's okay. I can just attach it right there. But I really like it. I like that one. I really like that one. So I'm going to go ahead and attach it. And I'm going to attach it right there. I'm thinking right here, chunky sand, a turtle or two, and then maybe some of my white seafoam, so kind of like a wave. But I need to go get some sand because I don't have any right now. But first thing I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and attach this. But tide's near me. Sebastian Inlet. Low tide's at 2:43. So high tide was 2.5 hours ago. I'm probably going to wait a little while because the tides have been really, really strong lately. So I thought I would do to this tree. I want to bling it up a little bit. I'm going to use these beads. I know that's messy. But I just want some ornaments. So this is a Florida Christmas tree. And I just think that'd be cute. Oh man. Come on. Okay. So let's think strategy here. So I can do a couple at a time. I mean, it's going to stick eventually, but I just want to pick a few, like different colors, kind of like, a multicolored Christmas tree would be. Really want to put one there. Oh man. It's just going to take some time.
So the beads that I have is just a kind of a grab bag of beads from Amazon. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And then I'm using the J Diction UV resin, which is it has a really high viscosity, which is great because the resin doesn't run everywhere. And so I'm not putting on a whole lot of the beads as the ornaments, but just kind of a, an assortment of colors, kind of like a Christmas tree.
I love it. This is cute. Like, this is really cute. It is a Florida Christmas tree. For sure. All right. So, I'll put this guy right here. And I just need some hot glue right there. Right along here. All right, I'm going to go to the beach and get some sand, some chunky sand.
Rough it's been. Wow. Goodness. Oh my gosh. Hey. Wow. And we had a lot of driftwood too over the last couple of weeks. I've been collecting a lot of that. We did have a lot of turtle eggs wash up, a lot of nests to wash away. I'll show you up here. But the good news is that it's fairly late in the season. So there's an egg, and here's an egg. There's a bunch up here, a bunch of eggs up here. But it's late in the season for hatching, so a lot of the nests have already hatched. And these, these are just the unlucky ones. So that is unfortunate, but that's nature, There's an osprey. We had a very heavy nesting season this year. A lot of nests. So, but this is how high the tide got. Look at that. It'll be back. In a couple of days, this will all be flat again.
This at a thrift store, this little figurine, I think I paid, well, it says $2. I don't think I paid $2 for it. Incorporate it in here. I bought it to try to take the turtle off, but if I do that, I'll probably break the whole thing. So I'm going to incorporate it in here. I'm going to mix my sand up in this. I have washed it because it was quite dirty, but this is just chunky. It's a chunky shell mix, kind of like what I use in my mermaid trash. And I'm going to mix it with Mod Podge. So I don't care that it's wet because I'm going to mix it with Mod Podge, and Mod Podge is water-based anyway. So there's pieces of crushed shell. There are little rocks. There's a piece of coquina. It's a piece of driftwood. I'm going to leave it all in there. And just probably not that piece. I really don't know how much I'm going to need, so I'm going to mix more than I think I need. And I'm going to mix it with Mod Podge. And I'm going to leave, actually, I'm going to go ahead and hot glue my turtle. I want my turtle right here. I'm going to go ahead and secure him with hot glue just to keep him in place. Just want to keep him in place. Okay. So this I'm going to mix with Mod Podge, and I already have this one watered down, so I'm going to go ahead and dump the rest of it in here. You can do 1-to-1 Mod Podge, so 1 part Mod Podge to 1 part water. I've always been kind of leery about that mix, but it works. I'm going to go ahead and just put some in my empty jar. Oh, good Lord. I am going to measure 1-to-1. So I'm going to put water in here. So that is about a 1-to-1 mix. And then I'm going to put my lid on. Just kind of shake it up. Oh, I'm just slinging it everywhere. And that'll be fine. Use a stick to stir until it's nice and soaked. And if you feel like it's not enough, then just add more Mod Podge water mix. But see how it's kind of soupy? It's like a slurry. So a couple of reasons why I like using Mod Podge when I work with these shells, and especially sand, is because if you add resin directly on top of, this was wet. If I add resin directly on top of that, the resin does not like water. So I don't know if it fish eyes or it prevents it from curing, but I am just going to kind of dump it on here, a controlled dump. And see, it's very runny. Let's get some down in there. I am making a mess on my workspace. It's okay. And this has got all kinds of little twigs in it. It's cute. And then you can just pour the rest of it, and it's going to dry rock hard. So this, I don't want it dripping. I'm going to tilt it and see if I can get it to kind of go its way down. There we go. All right, I'm going to let that dry a little bit. So if I put, I'm going to kind of make it a little, I'm not going to make it flat. I'm going to kind of fluff it up, if that makes sense. Just fluff it up. Okay, so I am going to let it dry a little bit. All right, this is nice and dry and stuck to my board. So I want to put in a couple of little shells. Oh, that's a little loose. Just some random shells that I found on the beach. An olive. And I will stick these down with probably just UV resin. I don't like this. Where's my sea glass? And it is pretty random because it's you know, random on the beach, so I can put these down with 6000 or tacky glue or hot glue. Now while our heat gun is warming up, I'm gonna add the seafoam like I said. And what this is, it's a mixture of Mod Podge and dish soap and a little bit of water. So this is, need to make some more. This is just what's left in my jar. So I just mix it up in a jar. It's 1 part dish soap to 3 parts Mod Podge. And I don't measure it. But you want to get my water. You want to put enough water in there. You don't really need that much water. You just want to put enough water in there that it makes it, you know, kind of a little watery, a little runny. So what did I say? And I am going to measure it. So 1 part dish soap. This is just Dawn dish soap. It doesn't really tint the mixture. Even though it looks like it would, it really doesn't. Okay. And then 3 parts Mod Podge. 1, 2, 3. I mean, if I'm going to make it, I might as well make enough that I can use it in a future project, which I'm sure I will be doing very, very soon. Okay, now you can see, put the lid on, you can see that it is quite thick. See it? It's really thick, and that's actually kind of pretty. But I'm just going to add a little bit of water, like probably a tablespoon or so. Okay. And it just makes it kind of runny. But we're going to blow some bubbles. So this is what happens. The dish soap gives the bubbles structure. The Mod Podge allows the bubbles to keep their structure. So as it dries, the Mod Podge hardens that bubble. It's magic, right? But you don't want it to dry clear. Now, if you do want it clear, you can always paint over it with, you know, whatever. You can use mica powder, but I'm going to add some color. I've never used liquid resin dye. I've always used paint. Use Amsterdam titanium white. I think I have enough left in here. And this adds the color. There's probably not enough left in here. Kind of like squeezing out the last of the toothpaste. It's a good glop. It's not a exact measurement. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shake my jar. Okay. Okay. Now this does make bubbles, but they're not really big. Or they're not, we don't want the big bubbles. We want the little tiny baby bubbles like that. So to get that, I'm going to get a straw. I have a lid. And the reason I use a lid is because once you start blowing with that straw, and I need to get a new one, it is going to make a mess everywhere because it splatters. This stuff is not the easiest to get going. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. So watch. If I don't use the lid, watch what happens. Okay, we don't want that. So use the lid. It goes everywhere, including my head. Okay. Okay. Ugh. Okay. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. Okay. And then I have a little silicone spoon from the dollar store. This is one of the best Dollar Tree purchases you can make for crafting. All right. So these are the little bubbles that we want right there. And you want to just scoop the bubbles. Don't try not to scoop the white. Try not to scoop the water, the liquid. So we just want these little bubbles. And I'm going to put it really randomly. And then I'm going to blow some more. Pop these big ones because those don't work anymore. And just put more down. Just like that. Now, I am kind of putting this over the rocks too because when the waves crash on the shore, they're not exact. They don't follow an exact perfect little line. So they do kind of go randomly on the beach, right? And I did just turn the fan off in my studio because I don't want my bubbles to pop. So I'm just adding them really randomly on the beach, just kind of, you know, giving it some structure there on the rocks. Just like that. And I might even come in here and do another layer. Just another layer maybe on top of that. I don't know. That's lovely. Oops, let me put my lid on. And then I'm going to keep this for the next time. And now I'm going to glue down my shells. My little resin starfish that's missing a leg. So I've not used it in any of my other projects, like my glass projects. So these are just really random. These are all shells that I have found on my beach, except for the sea glass. The sea glass is fake. Although I do find sea glass on my beach, I don't like using it in my artwork. That's just, I don't know. I think it's because I like to keep it. I just have it, all my sea glass in a big jar. I do occasionally separate it by color, but I don't like to give it away. All right, so now we wait again for the seafoam to dry.
I let the first layer of seafoam dry overnight, and then I added a second layer on top of the first layer the next day, and I kind of overlapped it a little bit, and then I put a little bit more onto the beach. I literally finished this palm tree 2 days before the art show down in Vero Beach, and I sold it the first day. So it's in a new Florida home.